going live on Facebook and YouTube.
Looking for photography tips, inspiration, ideas, or anything about film? Well, you've come to the right place. Born in Film and Photo Nation present Film Factor Podcast. Follow us on our social platforms at Born in Film on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
proud generation of visual storytellers, young and old alike, across all gender, beyond ethnicity, thriving in an online community. Built in the Philippines for the world. From the streets of Intramuros to the ringing bells of Chalon-sur-Saône, atop the great mountains of the Himalayas to the deeps of the Great Barrier Reef. Across Asia, Europe, Oceania, Africa, and the Americas, we will tell stories. We are Photo Nation, and the passion will live on.
Photo Nation. 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 I'm Photo Nation.
Almost 1 million people have now died of COVID-19 worldwide.
The Philippines reporting the first coronavirus death outside of China.
Amazing number of Filipinos work in our NHS. These are the immigrants currently saving people's lives.
Yes.
Coming here and actually enriching our country and doing an amazing job. So thank you to all the Filipinos who are here doing all this amazing work.
They want you to know that you, all of you, are their heroes. Huwag po kayo susuko, bayani po kayong lahat. And remember, there is only one thing we say to the God of death. Not today.
I wish I could swim like dolphins can swim. Though nothing will keep us together, we can beat them forever and ever. How we can be heroes just for one day. How we can be heroes just for one day. I will be king, and you will be queen. Though nothing will drive us away, how we can be heroes just for one day. How we can be us just for one day. the guns shout above our heads, and we kiss as though nothing could fall. And the shame is on the other side. Oh, we can beat them forever and ever, and we can be heroes just for one day.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program. When your camera is made by Kodak, you know it's good.
Tonight, I'd like to show you one of the world's great cameras.
Tonight, I'd like to show you a new idea in picture taking.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up.
I see the picture in my mind's eye, and I give it to you as the equivalent of what I saw and felt.
We choose to go to the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We will never forget that we are analog human beings.
My job is to be authentic.
We all love stories. We're born for them.
Coming to you live from Stratobox Studios in Manila, Philippines.
Hey guys, welcome back to Film Factor Podcast again. My name is Francis and this is Born in Film on Air on Film Factor Podcast, a show where we talk to photographers and their passion for photography. Again, we're live simulcast on Facebook Live, IGTV, and YouTube. So for friends who are here, happy Saturday. Yes, you heard it right. Born in Film on Air will now be airing live every Saturday. So again, invite your friends over by sharing this live video now. Okay. Hold on. Here. Again, our hotline is now up. Don't forget to ring us on Viber at 63921-408-8898. Again, that's 63921-408-8898. Or just simply scan this QR code. It will redirect you to our Viber, and then you can send your questions to our guests, or you can even call here live tonight. And again, we would like to thank each of you for being a huge part of this passionate community. Let's check the current standing. Currently, Photo Nation now has 11,100 members across 101 countries worldwide. Again, 11,000 na po tayo. And again, good evening to Photo Nation members and all those who are watching also on our Born in Film page. Last year, we began a series of live sessions within Photo Nation. It's among the first live photography podcasts in the Philippines. The first one we aired on April 5, where we talked about the importance of printing with Advent Lee. From there, we met photographers like Australian marine life photographer Darren Ju from the Tales by Light series on Netflix. And we also met photographers like Ali Reyes, who began everyday photography workshops together with Sir Vicky Laja, a respected commercial photographer, both of which were part of Digital Photographer Philippines. From there, we met other community legends like Ryan Odensial, who leads the Rasca community, and Sir Alan Mendez, who's one of the best Filipino light painting photographers. And who didn't forget, ito, last week lang, si Sir Albert Garcia, diba? Who shot the famous Pinatubo photo. And of course, Miss Harvey Chua, the co-founder of one of the country's pioneer advertising studios here in the Philippines. Diba? Watch our latest episodes, available now on demand via YouTube and our Facebook page. Here, also on Acast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Just search for Film Factor Podcast. New episodes are coming this February on our new time slot, which is 8:30 p.m. If you miss an episode, do check them out later. We have replays every 10:30 p.m. on Mondays. Okay? Photo Nation has ever since been at the forefront of this new culture of photographers where it doesn't matter what medium you use as long as you deliver the output that you seek. For us who built the platform, what matters most is the photographer's eye. It has ever since shaped the way we do things, and now we are back with more. Let's all watch this.
Portraits have always been what's interesting to me.
I'm happy to greet this gathering of motion picture engineers.
Art of photography is sharing. Taking what you see and sharing it with others.
Don't be afraid. Get out there, shoot some film.
I think Photo Nation can be a catalyst.
Photography isn't denied.
Joining us tonight, one of the few camera collectors here in the Philippines. One or who owns a camera museum. One of them, or one of our guests tonight, is from the south and another one from the north. Please welcome Sir Manny Inumerable of Galeria Taal in Batangas and Sir Clinton Aniversario of Clinton Museum in Benguet. Good evening po. Magandang gabi. I think you're on mute. You may now unmute yourselves. Yan. Magandang gabi po, Sir Manny. Hi, Sir Manny. Good evening. And Sir Clinton.
Hello, sir.
It's an honor to have both of you tonight. Kasi ito nga, di ba, kanina we were discussing na ang dami natin gusto ikwento dun sa mga viewers natin about history of photography. Si Sir Clinton, kinikwento nga niya, one of the first Filipino photographers came from their area in Benguet, di ba? Mamaya we'll talk about that. And si Sir Manny, I believe may kwento siya about the Rizal photo. Diba? So, yun, maganda yung mga pag-uusapan natin tonight. Okay, so let me jump to our first questions. Maybe you can introduce yourselves. And bakit po? Why is it important to collect cameras? Maybe we can begin with Sir Manny. Go ahead, Sir Manny.
Okay, I'm Manny Inumerable. I'm a civil engineer actually by profession, but I am a camera collector. And I started doing photography actually when I was still a young boy. In fact, I was 12 years old when I got my first camera. And I've been an avid photographer since then. I'm not a professional photographer, but I'm what you call a serious amateur photographer. Okay, I belong to a camera club, which is the Zone 5 Camera Club. Wow. I have been a member of that club since 1988.
Wow.
And until now, yes. Oh. And, well, the collection actually did not start off as a wanting to collect cameras, but it was more of as a hobby. Well, aside from photography, as an engineer, I wanted to, try to fix things. I wanted to know how like a camera works.
Yeah.
I would try to repair. I would buy old cameras, try to repair them, and and I would go around Manila, go around sa mga thrift shops o yung mga tiangge or yung mga antique shops, try to look for old cameras, mga rare cameras, mga Leica cameras, and mga old Nikon cameras. And, I would open them up, try to see how this thing works, maybe if I could repair them. And that's how it started, after I bought a camera, fix them, it starts work, I buy another camera, ganon, parang ganon. I would buy different cameras, try to find out. And soon, I became interested in the different types of cameras, like the Nikon. I wanted to know about the history of the Nikon. I wanted to know how, like what was the first Nikon cameras and why it became so rare, why so expensive, even the Leicas. And that started off the collection. Actually, it did not really start off as a wanting to collect cameras, but as a curiosity of like how the camera works.
And Sir Manny, why is it important to collect these cameras that you have collected?
Well, it's important for me personally because this is my therapy. I don't know if it's really, when I first opened my collection to the public back in 2010, when I became the chairman of Photo World in Glorieta, I didn't really know people will be interested in old cameras. So, sabi ko, sige, display ko na lang yung mga old cameras ko. I found out, people were interested in old cameras. And so I opened this, we have this ancestral house in Taal, which belonged to my great-great-grandparents. Wala naman nakatira. It's an abandoned house. It's made during the 1800s. And sabi ko, i-restore ko na lang kaya yung bahay. Well, when I restored the house actually way back in 2004. But, not thinking really of making it a museum. I just wanted to preserve the house. But somehow, the preservation of the house and my camera collection somehow found its way in Taal. And it became, I put up the museum there. I just wanted to try it out, if, a museum can work out in that place.
Yeah.
At that time when I opened that museum in Taal, nobody knew about Taal. Actually, nobody goes to Taal. And now, when people found out that there was a camera museum, people started coming to Taal. And soon, a lot of the television station came. They went there. So many camera clubs went there, and somehow, I somehow contributed to the tourism in Taal.
Right.
And and then it became a landmark in Taal right now. Yeah.
And of course, diba? I mean, it's also among the preserved houses there, diba, Sir Manny?
Yes, it's one of the old houses there.
Kumbaga, it's sabi nila, ito yung vegan of the South, diba?
Yes, that's right.
So, for those who haven't been yet to Taal, Batangas, and of course, Galleria Taal yun, baka after the pandemic, diba? It's just the pandemic.
Well, it's open. We opened last
It's
November.
open.
It's open already. We opened last November 1, and we're now getting guests. We're now receiving guests in Taal.
Ayun.
So if you're Taal is about 2 hours away from Manila. From Tagaytay is only 1 hour away. So you can go to Taal. Taal is there's so many landmarks in Taal, so many things that you can see, like the biggest Catholic church, in Asia is there. The Taal Basilica, and the Church of Our Lady of Kaysasay, the site of the first Marian miracles in the Philippines, which is recognized by the Vatican, is there. And of course, the old houses, the old Spanish houses are there. Yeah.
Thank you, Sir Manny. Siguro, we can move on naman. Punta naman tayo sa North, kay Sir Clinton. Let's try to get to know si Sir Clinton. And, I'll just replace the pin. Yan. Sir Clinton, ayan, magandang gabi po. Good evening, Sir Clinton. So, maybe you can... baka pwede nyo pong ikwento bakit importante i-collect yung camera. And ipakilala nyo rin po yung sarili nyo, paano kayo nagsimula dito sa pagkokolekta nyo. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Clinton Aniversario, and I am also a small-time collector based here in Benguet. I am also a sculptor, a painter, and a photographer. And as a sculptor, I made also some other monuments here in Baguio. And as a painter, I did the color of Stobosa of Favela inspired in La Trinidad. Yung Favela inspired na nakikita nyo ngayon sa nabagong tourist spot sa La Trinidad. And as a photographer, I do wedding photography. And I started also a photography club here in Baguio, named Baguio Benguet Photographers Hikers Artist Club. Yeah. I am also a member of Tamawan Group of Artists.
Wow. So kumbaga, Sir Clinton, it's a mix of both photography and art, 'di ba? Yung kumbaga, ang ganda ang ganda ng passion ni Sir Clinton kasi nga it's mixing both mediums. Sir Clinton, ito naman, bakit importante kolektahin 'tong mga cameras na luma?
Sa akin, it's important because they are a bit being collected by people like you and Sir Manny. Baka maubusan tayo. Pero siguro, the real reason is...
siguro, Sir Clinton, kailangan na natin gumawa ng club, no? Tayo ni Sir Manny. Gawa tayo ng photography club. Go ahead, Sir Clinton.
Pero the real reason is same with Sir Manny. Therapy rin siya. To have a comforting place for me when I see these vintage cameras in one place, it is like a recharging outlet for me. I feel like I am with all the previous owners of these cameras. It is like diba, ina-absorb ko yung mga stories and experiences as a photographer, yung mga may-ari, which makes me refreshed and gives me the feeling of like living in the past.
Oo nga, isa pa yun, ganda nun. Oo, and also, ito nga, ang dami nagko-comment sa atin ngayon, sabi nila, camera collecting is exciting. So, di ba? May halong ganyan kasi you'll never know what you'll find, di ba? Lalo na kung nagka-camera hunting ka.
I feel.
So, siguro ito naman, maybe we can move on to Sir Manny. Sir Manny, I believe I saw a video of you that was produced by ANC in ABS. And baka pwede nyo po ikwento kasi I saw a part there where you talked about I think yung royal nyo po na camera. And I think it jump-started this passion. Sir Manny, baka pwede nyo pong ikwento. And habang kinikwento nyo po yan, I'll play the video. Go ahead, Sir Manny.
Well, my first camera, when I got the camera, I was about 12 years old. It was given to me by my uncle. That was my first camera, a Royal 35mm camera. And I had that for several. Doon ako nag-aral ng photography. I wanted to know how the shutter speed worked, what was the shutter speed and what was the aperture. So I self-study ako of photography. This was 12. I was 12 years old then. And then I became taking pictures. I would experiment on filters, but filters naman, wala naman akong mga mahaling filters. I could not afford at that time, to buy filters. So ginagamit ko yung mga, alam mo na, yung mga lente na mga shades na mga Ray-Ban, yung mga old Ray-Ban ng tatay ko. Yun ang ginagamit kong mga filters, yung mga para to create contrast on the film, on the photographs.
Ito, we're showing the video now. Go ahead, Sir Manny.
Yeah, so that started off actually my photography until well, uh, somehow that camera got lost. It was stolen from me actually, and somehow something died in me when that camera got lost. And I tried to search for. Took a took a long time for me to get back to photography because I could not afford to at that time I was still a student. I could not afford to buy a camera until I finally was able to buy a camera when I was already working after college. So that was the time when I started doing photography. I joined a camera club, and then that was how I became interested in how the camera works. And of course, mahaba yung story ng nung lente. It's about a 20-minute video. And it also tells a story about why I restored the house, our ancestral house, and how I was able to merge the new restored house with my old cameras. I made a little museum of the cameras and some old Philippine photographs which I borrowed from some collectors, and I made a timeline of Philippine history.
Wow.
With the old cameras in an old house, so that makes it unique, in this part of Taal.
Ayun. So, yun pala. Yun yung nagsimula, no? And again, we invite the viewers, if you have the time, yun, search nyo po sa YouTube, nakapost po doon yung muka lente. I-docu about Sir Manny. Ayun. Thank you, Sir Manny. Maybe we can move on naman kay Sir Clinton. Sir Clinton, ikaw naman, what made you collect this camera? Aside from what you mentioned na ito nga therapy siya, ano yung nag-udyok sa iyo na magsimula kolektahin yung camera? Go ahead.
Yes. I collect cameras because of the future project I want to achieve. Kasi lately lang ako nagko-collect. And I want to shoot this kind of cultural photography. I was also in love kasi with my culture, so I want to document and preserve the aura of the ornaments, of our ornaments and attires through photography. And the best way I can do to document its pureness and grandeur is by using these vintage equipments to show the splendor of these pieces.
Diba? Ang ganda ng mission ni Sir Clinton. No? So, ito naman, kasi recently, or siguro last year, kasi nga ito nagsimula itong pandemic, we'd like to know from our guests tonight, and I believe si Sir Manny, he's one of the most affected nitong pandemic na to. And Sir Manny, I have a question for you in terms of the pandemic. And also kasi, 'di ba, itong last year lang, the Taal volcano began dun sa kanyang pagbulusok nga, 'di ba, ng Taal. And unfortunately ito hindi pa siya nag-e-erupt. And later I'll ask you about your situation now. Sir Manny, ito, how did this siguro simula muna tayo dun sa eruption. Papaano or gaano kahirap yung naging epekto nito sa inyo? As Galleria Taal. Go ahead, sir.
Well, the eruption of the Taal volcano really did havoc to Batangas, Taal, and to my museum. When it erupted in, I think I was January 12, the whole town was, after a few days, it was locked down. Nobody could enter the entire town. All my people have to, all the people in the town of Taal and surrounding towns had to evacuate. So there was no one was allowed in the town of Taal. And I was very much worried what will happen to my cameras. There might be some, theft or something. And I was not very much worried about the structure, the old house, because that was yun yung mga bahay na bato eh. And I felt it was a very strong house. But then I was more worried about, about robbery. They might, because there was no one there. I had no security guards. I had no one exact, and so sabi ko, I had to pull out these cameras. Now I had a problem, of course, how to get into Taal, because there were police that were blocking the roads. So after 1 week, I had to plan this out very well. I talked to my people in Taal if we could enter Taal without passing through the road, yung mga roadblocks.
Right.
They said, yes, there is a way. There's a small road only being where tricycles can pass. It's a very small road, and it's not guarded by the police. And I entered Taal, brought my van, and inside Taal, I was met by some of my people. In fact, I have some photographs of when I went there, and we packed all the cameras. We put it in bubble wraps, and I had to put them in plastic cases, and took us the whole day to pack. The house was very dirty. It was very dusty. Even if it was closed, the streets were muddy and everything. So, but I had to pull them. I was able to pull them out at the end of the day, and I brought them back to Manila, to my house. And during the whole time, the pandemic, during the lockdown, I would open up the cameras, try to check them out, do the standard oiling, try to repair some of the cameras that were, not working anymore. And so, last November, we was able to open Galleria Taal again. But the tourists are, very, very few. It's unlike before. It's not enough even to sustain the salaries of my people there. But we have to start somewhere again. Yeah.
And Sir Manny, in terms of kasi nga ito, just recently, we learned about the current situation of Taal na parang medyo alert level na naman siya. Kamusta naman po kayo ngayon?
Well, so far so good. I don't know if it's going to wrap again. I hope not. But if it does, I don't know. I cannot really say, but I hate to pull that out again. And because we have suffered so much already from the lockdown and the eruption, of course. I really don't know what we can do. Maybe it will be. Maybe I should open another museum here in Manila.
Oo, tama. Oo nga, Sir Manny, no? The best yun. Oo. Isa ako sa mga unang bibisita doon. Oo. Ayun. And, thank you, Sir Manny. Siguro, lipat naman tayo kay Sir Clinton. Kamustahin naman natin yung how they were able to cope up during the pandemic. Hold on. Ayan. Ikaw, Sir Clinton.
Alam mo kasi,
ayan. Go ahead, Sir Clinton. Go ahead.
Sir Franz, kasi kaming mga artist, sanay na dyan sa mga lockdown kasi pwede kami parang nag-hibernate kami mga 2 months. Kaya pero one thing na maganda is it's good in terms of beautification because of the lockdown. I got more interested with plants. Halos plantita na ngayon yata. Plantita na
Oo nga, isa pa yan.
For my landscape. And got more time to do art installations. At the same time, it's unfortunate because we don't have any visitors nga to appreciate and take photos of our flowers until it completely dries. Kaya kami lang parang nag-appreciate na nag-picture.
Tsaka yun nga, unfortunately, di ba Sir Clinton, it's faster now to travel from Manila to Baguio, 'di ba? I mean,
Oo,
kasi
oo.
open na lahat and then meron pa
Open na yung
tayong
kwan.
yung even yung highway, it's open, 'di ba? So, ako nga excited na rin ako bumisita diyan. Sabi ko nga, 'di ba, bibisitahin kita pag pag okay na
Oo.
lahat. Oh, so
Kita-kits.
oo. And yun, siguro punta naman tayo sa sige, Sir Clinton, you like to add? Go ahead.
Pero at least open na rin ako ngayon
Mm.
kasi last year ko lang naman kasi inopen to. Buti na lang nakakatulong rin kay parents kasi kaya inopen ko tong photography ay tong museum para sa kanila kasi na wala din silang customer sa business nila, which is the furniture shop. Kaya lahat ng entrance is pupunta rin kay mother.
At buti may ganito, no? Oo. So, in terms of naman, before the pandemic, kasi I understand, syempre may mga plano na rin kayo na what to do for the whole year, di ba? You have some plans. Baka you can share with the viewers what were some of these plans and what do you envision these galleries or museums that you've put up? Sir Clinton, ikaw na muna. Go ahead.
Yung plano ko is I want to invite the enthusiasts here in our gallery museum na taga Benguet and Baguio and let them choose any of the film cameras and we'll take photos of what interests them on that day. And I will choose my favorite for a prize yung isa sa aking mga art. And of course, a lot of photo shoots with models sana.
Oo nga, isa yan sa mga talaga na masaya kasi ang dami nyo sama-sama and kumbaga it's about it's about the shooting experience, di ba? So, Sir Manny, ikaw, do you have any plans or I believe you were planning ahead, di ba, for your gallery? Maybe you can share with the viewers. Go ahead.
Well, so far, actually, we're now opening. We're still trying to try to get more tourists to come to Taal. And I'm part of the Federation of the Philippine Photographers Foundation. And one of the things that we talked about was bringing in the camera clubs to Taal. Okay. And I told him, sure, bring them here. I will, the cameras that we have in Taal are all working cameras. Okay? And these are cameras since the 1800s, mga really old cameras. So if you want to, use some of the cameras, try to get a feel of how an antique camera of during the 1800s or the early 1900s, how it works. Right. We can teach them how to use them. Some of the film cameras, of course, there's still film available. If you have film, you can use these cameras. So there will be activities. There are so many things that you can shoot in Taal. Right. Ilang mga old houses, old churches. And so, with the film cameras, you can bring them around Taal. Of course, wag mo lang iuwi. You have to bring it back, of course. So, we can let them use those cameras, And actually, we've done that with some of the students from the Benilde School of Photography. Right. I know some of the professors there, and during before the lockdown, they used to go there, and I would let them use those cameras. Some of them would bring 120 film. Ang gagamit ko yung mga old, yung mga TLR, yung mga twin lens reflex cameras. Yeah. These are the things that we can do with these cameras.
And siguro moving on to naman, what the viewers can do to help sustain this. Kasi we understand na maraming mga gusto pumunta pero maybe kulang pa sila sa maybe they can help in terms of sharing. Ito nga what we've been talking about, 'di ba? So ano yung nyo, Sir Manny and Sir Clinton? Your appeal siguro to the viewers on how to support you, your museums, and your passion. Go ahead. Sir Manny, ikaw muna.
Well, The museums that we have, the Galleria Taal is a privately owned museum, so we don't get any funds from the government. Okay, we don't get any subsidy from the government regarding this, and it's not a money-making business. Okay, we do charge some entrance fees, very minimal, 100 pesos for each visitor, and 50 pesos for students, and to go into the museum. It's a very nice, place to look at the old photographs, because we have curators there who can tell the stories of these photographs. Like I mentioned to you before the program about the story of one of the pictures there, which was a photograph of the execution of Jose Rizal.
Right.
A rare photograph of the execution of Jose Rizal. We never knew when we grew up in our schools that there was a photo of the execution of Jose Rizal, and I only found that out actually when I went into a talk of John Silva, who was he's now actually the head of the Ortigas Library. At that time, he was still with the National Museum. He was a senior curator there, and he gave a talk about the old Philippine photographs. And one of the photographs he talked about was the photograph of the execution of Jose Rizal, which he discovered in a flea market in Pennsylvania in 1985. Imagine a photograph, a very small photograph, written. The only thing that was written at the back of the photograph was these words: a Filipino doctor executed in Bagong Bayan, 1896.
Grabe.
Yun lang. Diba? Imagine to see that in a shoebox in a flea market, Pennsylvania pa, sa US. Oh, and when he saw that, wow, sabi niya, his heart that was pounding, and went to the seller and told them, how much does this, how much is this photograph? And the seller looked at the photograph. Medyo sira-sira na yung photograph. Oh, give me a quarter for the photograph. So he gave him a quarter. He slowly went out of the flea market. His heart was pounding. And when he left in his car, sabi niya, he felt he stole something very valuable.
Grabe. No? Would you imagine, finding that?
Imagine. But of course, when that photograph came out during the 90s, because he was in America, he was in the States for a couple of years. He lived there. When he came back, he brought the photograph and he showed it around, showed it to the public. People did not believe it was the original photograph. And so there was a lot of investigations that came out. Sabi na, ako, hindi siguro, hindi totoo yan. Baka si Cesar Montaño lang yan. So, so a lot of discussions, in the internet came out. And,
would you imagine finding that?
They were able to prove it was the original.
Wow.
It was the original thing.
Diba? Would you imagine, dati nakikita lang natin sa paintings. Yung pala, may photo pala yung araw na yun. No?
Puro sketches lang, di ba?
Right.
I studied social studies natin, di ba?
Right.
Always saw drawings,
yeah.
executions, sketches. There was somebody who took the photograph. And the photograph is there. We tell this story, so many stories about the photographs and the cameras, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Ayun, so siguro, punta naman tayo kay Sir Clinton kasi I believe yung may kwento si Sir Clinton about that. Ano naman, in terms of history of photography, yung one of the first Filipino photographers came from his area. Sir Clinton, baka you'd like to share that?
Oo. Ay, Sir Manny,
go ahead.
Yung photographer, yung kumuha ng shoot, di parang kuha na lang, credit to the owner ba? Hindi ba nakilala yung nag-shoot ng...
May credit.
CTTO na lang ba yan? Di ba nahanapan yung film pero hindi nahanapan kung sino yung kumuha.
Sayang, di nakita.
Yung one? Hindi. Nalaman na kung sino yung kumuha ng execution ni Rizal? Are you talking about it?
Yes.
Oh, sir.
Yeah, they were able to find out who was the photographer.
Grabe.
Spanish din.
But no. Yeah, he was a Spanish photographer actually, who lived here in Manila. But okay, there's a nice story behind this.
Go ahead.
About that guy. The name of that guy is Manuel Arias Y. Rodriguez. Okay, and he was a Spanish photographer. Okay, he had a studio in Escolta. Okay, but he was also a very good friend of Jose Rizal. He was the one who was fascinated. Alam mo, I got this letter of Manuel Arias to Jose Rizal, addressed to Jose Rizal, dated 1890. Okay, addressed in a address in Paris. At the time, kasi si Jose Rizal was in Paris, and I had a letter of Manuel Arias telling Jose Rizal how to bring in the books, yung mga libro ni Rizal na pinaprint, yung mga Noli Me Tangere, tsaka El Filibusterismo. Siya pala yung nagpapasok ng mga libro ni Rizal, yung mga libro niya dito sa Pilipinas. Kasi, those books were banned. If you were caught with those books, makukulong ka. Makukulong, di ba? Those were subversive books. And, being a Spanish, itong Manuel Arias, he had a clout doon sa customs. And somehow, naipapasok niya. Okay? And he was able to sell these books in his studio in Escolta.
Mga unheard stories yan. Ang galing.
Yes. I have a copy of that letter ginawa ni Manuel Arias.
Evidence.
In fact, there was an address. When I was in Paris in 2012,
Hinanap niyo pa.
Hinanap ko yung address. And I was able to see this. Sabi ng taxi driver, tinanong ko sa taxi driver, do you know this address? Oh yes, this is just 15 minutes away. Pinuntahan namin. Pagdating ko doon, alam mo na yung mga old apartments na 4 stories sa Paris. Yun, nakita ko yung address. Sabi ko, well, paano ko kaya?
Yung anak niya na.
No? So, tiyempo naman, may lumabas. May lumabas doon sa pinto. Paglabas ng pinto, hindi sumara. So I was able to go inside the apartment. Pasok ko doon sa apartment, nagtatanong ako. Sabi ko, wala. Problema, wala marunong mag-English . Mga nakakausap ko doon, yung mga naglilinis, hindi naman kami magkaintindihan kasi hindi marunong mag-English. But when I was looking around, I saw a small plaque doon sa isang wall, medyo mataas-taas ng konti. At nakalagay doon yung pangalan ni Jose Rizal. At it was written in French. I took some photos of the plaque. Na yun ang talagang naging Jose Rizal stayed there.
Tumataas yung balahibo ko, Sir Manny.
Baka anak niya yung lumabas.
And you were able to verify, Grabe.
Yes.
Grabe.
So yun, these are some of the stories of Manuel Arias, and siya yung photographer.
Grabe.
And, ang tanong sa akin paano nakarating sa Amerika yung retratong yan?
Oo nga.
Well, probably, okay, Manila kasi was destroyed during the war.
Right.
Okay, almost 90% of Manila, yung mga ating museums were all destroyed. And a lot of, yung mga Amerikano naman kasi, during the American times, they would bring a lot of photographs to the States.
Right.
In fact, a lot of the photographs that we see now about Philippines during the pre-war came from the States. Puro galing Amerika lahat yan Doon nakikita sa mga kung saan-saan, sa mga flea markets, mga kung saan. And this is probably one of those pictures that were were brought to America, and some of the photographs that were probably that was here in the Philippines got destroyed already because of the war, and so we never saw that photograph actually. But we saw sketches, puro mga sketches,
Right,
probably,
May aso, I believe may istorya pa yung aso dun eh. Di ba, sir? Oo.
Okay. Yeah, maganda tong kwento ng aso. Okay. In 1948, when they were investigating about the authenticity of the photograph, kung totoo yan. In 1948, there was an article that came out in the Sunday magazine. Okay, about it was one of the yung mga drum and bugle members who accompanied Rizal from Intramuros. He wrote something about, I was there when Jose Rizal was executed. Okay,
yeah, we're showing the photo. Yeah, go ahead, Sir Manny.
Okay. Tingnan mo ngayon, you can Google this actually, yung the day of Jose Rizal was executed. Now, he mentions when Rizal fell down, there was a dog who was the mascot of one of the Guardia Civil. And sabi niya, yung aso daw, umikot-ikot kay Jose Rizal. Okay, he mentioned that in his article, that there was this dog that went around when Jose Rizal fell.
I believe that's the witness.
That dog came out in the photograph.
Here. Ito.
That dog came out in the photograph.
Grabe.
Diba? So, totoo yun. Kaya sabi nila, that photograph is real. It's a real photograph.
Amazing, no?
And I also have some photographs in Galleria Taal of an execution in exactly the same place. 2 weeks after the execution of Jose Rizal. This was the execution of the 13 martyrs of Bagong Bayan. Okay, this happened in I think this was about mga January 7 of 1897. Okay, there's 2 pictures, and you could see the photograph. It was taken in the same place. Yung mga details.
Nandun pa rin po ba yung aso?
Hindi, wala na yung aso, pero yung mga details, yung kawayan, yung mga lampara, they're all the same. They're all the same. It's in the same place. Kasi sabi nila, that photograph, kasi sinasabi ng mga iba, that photograph was not it's not real. It was probably taken because there was a film about Jose Rizal. Yes, during the I think mga 1912 or something ganyan, or 1920s. And so sabi nila that is just a part of that film movie of that part.
Will you imagine, no? Yung ganitong Ayun. Thank you, Sir Manny. Sir Clinton, ano naman, I believe ikaw may kwento ka rin na medyo historical din.
Yun, kaya tinanong ko rin kung...
Oo. Baka siya yun, di ba? Baka siya yung photographer niya. Go ahead, Sir Clinton.
Kaya tinanong ko parehas rin nga pala silang Espanyol. Pero yung nandito is half Spanish and half Filipino. Na pumasok dito sa Sagada. Siya si Eduardo Masferrer, kung nakikilala niyo siya. Yung tatay niya is a priest of Anglican na nakiasawa ng gardener na Igorota. Baka naging master niya yan.
Baka,
si Spanish rin. Pero natuto daw siya sa Spain ng photography, then 1 year lang, then bumalik na kaagad dito sa Pinas. Kagaya ni Sir Manny, 12 years old, nagsushoot na siya.
And Sir Clinton, I believe you also have photos niya, di ba? Yung si
kasi marami. Around mga 1,000 photos ang sumikat. Pero Hindi, I mean 200 photos ang sumikat pero mga 1,000 ang nakatago sa lola ni buhay na lola ngayon. Mahal, sobrang mahal yung mga works niya. May gumamit, delikado rin kasi yung mga pictures niya, yung mga gumagamit na walang paalam kasi may gumamit na libro, yung isang shoot niya na multa ng mga 1 million, I think.
Grabe, no?
Mayroon ako nung libro na yun eh. Kaya na-stop yung production.
Right, oo. And how does it feel na, yun nga eh, Miss Fere came from your area? How does it feel?
Doon rin ako na-inspire sa mga shots niya. Kaya sinasabi ko, ba't yung mga ancestor ko may camera noon, hindi nila sinut yung mga igorots. Tapos, kaya siguro ako rin sinagot ko rin sarili ko, siguro kasi sanay silang nakakakita ng ganun, kaya ang halos mga sinut ng mga ancestors ko is mga nakadamit. Itong
iba.
foreigner, iba. Kaya parang ganun.
Ganun pala siya. So, in terms of naman, ito nga kasi we're talking about the old process, 'di ba? Yung sabi nila analog or film ganyan. Gaano ka-importante na pinag-aaralan 'to ng mga kabataan or gaano ka-importante na we treasure itong process na 'to na ito nga kasi unti-unti na nawawala ang film photography. Even the chemicals, 'di ba? Unti-unti na nang nawawala rin yung gumagawa, 'di ba? May mga dinidiscontinue nila itong mga ilang films. Gaano ka-importante na hayaan natin na mabuhay pa rin siya. Sir Clinton, sa'yo muna.
Sir Manny.
Sir Manny, sige. Sir Manny, ikaw muna. Gaano siya ka-importante to preserve or learning about the fundamentals of photography?
Well, yung film photography has now become an art form. Okay? It's iba yung kwan eh. It's unlike puro mga digital, kita mo na kaagad yung mga results, pag film photography, there's some excitement in trying to bring out the photograph. Okay, I remember when I was taking film during mga film days, pag makakuha ako isang magandang photograph in one roll ng 36 shots, masaya na ako doon. Masaya na ako doon. But now, alam mo na, di ba? Kita mo na lahat, Pag kumukuha ka ngayon ng digital, kita mo na lahat. You can just erase kung hindi maganda.
Right.
So, but especially now, if you are using the large format, very meticulous. You have to take mga meter readings, and you have to be very sure about yung mga settings mo because the films are very expensive. Imagine yung mga film, yung mga 8x10, those are very expensive. You can't just buy those kinds of film here. You have to import those films. And this is some of the things that we use, yung mga large format photography. And there are people who are using these cameras. I have some good friends, really good friends. We would go out of Metro Manila outside. We go to Taal. Minsan, we went to Taal Volcano before during I think this was about mga 2008, 2009. We brought these large cameras, mga 8x10, mga 20x24. I have a friend who has a 20x24 inch camera. Imagine. It's probably the biggest camera in Asia. Tapos meron pa yung mga 8x20 film cameras. Dinadala namin yun, binibit namin yun sa mga bundok. Sinasakay namin sa kabayo. Why do we do that? It's fun. It's very challenging. And once you see the photograph, napapawaw kami lahat, di ba? And that's excitement of film photography. And aside from that, we print it in a different way. We don't print it, with silver halide. No, we print it in a process that photographers were doing during the late 1800s, like the platinum printing system. We use platinum chemicals. to print these photographs. It's an archival system, and a platinum system kasi, a platinum print would last for hundreds of years.
Right.
Hindi nagde-deteriorate, and the details that you see in that photograph is because it was contact printed from an 8x10 is talagang detalyado kahit na madilim. Kita mo yung mga details inside yung mga shadows.
As pure as you can get.
Very for me, it's exciting, very exciting, to see those kinds of photographs and be able to produce those kinds of photographs. Yeah.
Thank you, Sir Manny. So, kumbaga ito nga it's about valuing also this process. Siguro punta naman tayo kay Sir Clinton before we take a quick break. Sir Clinton, ikaw naman, how important, gaano ka-importante na i-preserve natin itong process na to? Film photography, pag-aaral ng darkroom process, yung ganyan. Go ahead.
Swerte pa rin ng mga taga Baguio kasi may nagde-develop pa rin dito sa Session Road ng 1 hour developing ng film. Pero kung gusto nilang ma-experience yung black and white developing, mayroon akong ginawa dito na malaking sculpture na camera. Doon ako nagde-develop.
Wow.
And yun nga, yung experience na mag-shoot ng film, mahirap i-explain kung matry nyo, doon mo nyo na mag-feel. Yung parang every shot is 10 pesos. Kaya dapat importante talaga malaman yung basic ng photography kasi yun nga, sabi ni Sir Manny, mahal yung film, mahal yung developing.
True.
Kaya, pero at least kahit na ganun man, kung may isa nga maganda, solve na rin parang solve na rin yung, pero parang double blade. Minsan, nakaka-stress din kung wala man kahit isa.
Oo, totoo.
Yung effort mo, ang layo-layong pinuntahan mo. Tapos, may light leak pala. Mga basic muna ng bago gamitin yung camera, dapat i-check rin lahat. Kung accurate ba yung shutter niya, o gumagana ba yung curtain niya. And important naman next is yung alam mo na yung mga basic na shutter, aperture, and yung ISO na film para at least doon ka na makapag-experiment ng sarili mong style. And yun nga, pinaka-importante nga yung exposure. Baka kung hindi mo alam yung kasi manual lahat hindi gaya ng digital na lahat yung camera na mag-iisip. Maganda rin talaga na alam mo yung basic.
Oo, I understand also kasi nga si Sir Clinton is also an artist, di ba? You do things by hand na itong ang process na to applicable talaga sa what you do, no? Sir Clinton. Yun. And with that, we'll leave you for now. Mag-break lang po tayo ng maikli and then we'll come back. Pag-uusapan naman natin yung mga films yung mga camera na nakolekta ni Sir Manny and Sir Clinton. Okay? And bibisitahin natin, papakita natin yung mga pictures ng kanilang mga museums and galleries. Okay? We'll be back.
One of the things that makes anything more enjoyable is being able to share it and being part of a community.
And quite frankly, what I get from Photo Nation is the fact that it's so non-judgmental.
They're so accepting of people, and I like that about Photo Nation, that people are willing to do that.
Photo Nation is hindi lang siya Filipino-based international group. Ano siya, one big happy family talaga siya.
Photo Nation is just one huge family.
I think probably the thing I like the most about Photo Nation is the fact that it's a supportive community, not there to score points.
Photo Nation, a platform that has no bashing.
It's you ask for help, you get help. The best part about Photo Nation is that everyone gets a chance to showcase their stuff. And if you ask, how did you get that? Can you teach me? that people respond and you're like, yeah, I'm actually learning things here.
We all started as a beginner, whether it's your self-taught or you learn from masters or you learn from YouTube. We should be humble enough to know and to accept that people who are willing to learn, we have to appreciate that because it's actually promoting the hobby or the passion that we love, which is photography.
Malaki talaga yung impact sa pag-i-improve ko as a photographer kasi hindi lang basics yung tinuturo, parang yung advanced stuff na.
I'm always welcome na idea na magkaroon ng isang community ang mga photographer. Yung imbis na magbangayan, nagtutulungan.
It feels really nice to be part of Photo Nation because of how active the group is. A lot of inspiration for me to take in.
Ko in-expect na ganito yung welcome ng Photo Nation sa akin.
Napagsama-sama ng Photo Nation ang mga photographer, anuman ang lahi nila.
I've met a lot of people from different regions sa country natin. Mas na-widen yung network ko.
Masaya kasi nakakapag-share ka ng free.
Yun na mas manada oportunidad pati health chances na mas kada grande di mi thinking about things na noy at na kalya ko nila.
Feel like I'm with a family that supports what I love and what I am passionate about. Mararamdaman mo na may value yung gawa mo and mas nakikita mo na there is an opportunity for you to grow in this industry.
I joined Facebook a year ago and you are the first group I joined. It's one big international family. It's great to be part of Photo Nation International.
Aside from the photography memes, pinakagusto na ako sa Photo Nation is activities like Photographer of the Week and sa mga Team of the Week.
I was really happy to be featured as the Photographer of the Week. It really helps and boosts me.
One of the things I like about Photo Nation is the fact that it's not limited by any demographic, by any location, or by year.
Tuwang-tuwa ako kasi siyempre first time ko maging part ng isang member na may malaking community. Maganda experience ko.
Nakita na ko na daghang mga parehas na kong edad ang misulay og photography diri sa mga sa Dipolo.
Nakatabang siya ka mo-grow ko as a photographer. Maka-inspire siya sa mga kasama ko na bagungan pa. Pag-join ako aning Photo Nation kay at first kay nakulbaan ko ato kay international siya.
Pag-ayat ko kay Photo Nation kay dagiti na dumaduma nga aktibidades kay Domingo kas kuma dagiti pasalit nga pagka-recognition dagiti kas kanyak nga adadamo thì photography.
Người ta thường hay nói rằng là khi mà bạn muốn đi thật là nhanh thì bạn đi một mình, nhưng mà khi mà bạn muốn đi xa thì bạn sẽ đi cùng với cả những người khác. Thành ra là khi mà tham gia vào những cái group chơi ảnh như là Photo Nation thì nó giúp mình là sẽ nhìn được thấy rất là nhiều bức ảnh đẹp, và qua đó thì và cũng gặp rất nhiều là photographer giỏi. Thế thành ra là qua đó mình được truyền cảm hứng hơn.
Aso pa na ako nung mag-join karang community. Uning manahit kong bakal inspiration.
Yung first impression ko sa Photo Nation, walang toxic sa group. Parang dito sa Photo Nation nakaka-proud kasi parang nabibigyan ng voice yung mga Filipino.
I think Photo Nation is there. It's kind of feel like home. Alam mong this group will help you grow.
Sobrang ganda ng podcast quality. Yun yung magagawa ng Pinoy. So, nakaka-proud din.
Nagulat din po ako lalo kasi almost around the world kasali po eh. Parang ang laki pong privilege sa akin na sa Philippines po nag-start tong Photo Nation.
Pinoy pride kasi nga, di ba? Doon yung group is sa Pilipinas. So parang kaya natin makisabay at maliit tayong bansa.
I think Photo Nation parang for me, yung always active na ako.
Swerte gid ko kay naging part ko sa grupo ni. Hindi gid malimtan ang opportunity kag hindi ko gid pagsayawan.
marami akong natutunan, lalo yung sa masterclass.
Photo Nation expanded my global knowledge, especially regarding Filipino photography. The Philippines seems to be pretty excited and actively pursuing the craft.
Feeling ko na welcome ka talaga kasi may mga toxic na mga tao. Nakakaugmat na nakaka-inspire sinda ng mga picture ninda na pinapairing sa mga bawat saro.
That worldwide photo walk, my gosh, I was surprised that many people showed up and it brought tears to my eyes. It was brilliant. There's so much love. I think that's the best way to say it. There's so much love in this community.
The truth is, this is merely a setback. This is merely one huge mountain that we have to traverse.
Okay, and we're back with our guests, Sir Manny Inumerable and Sir Clinton Aniversario. Now, punta naman tayo sa mga na-collect nilang cameras and we'll talk about their most precious siguro na mga cameras and how they were able to collect those. Siguro I'll throw this first question kay Sir Manny.
Yes.
Sir Manny, what attracts
Yes.
you to vintage cameras?
What attracted me to vintage cameras?
Yes.
Well, I don't know how to. It's difficult to explain it. It's it's just wondering, how does the old camera work? Sa akin yun ang kwan eh.
Yeah.
Yun ang tanong ko noon eh. Paano ba gumagana yung mga old cameras? How does it take pictures? When I started repairing cameras, so opening up mga cameras, there are a lot of mga mechanical things inside, mga gears, mostly mga mechanical gears. But the old cameras, the old wooden cameras, walang moving parts. It's an empty. It's empty inside.
Right.
It's just the bellows, and even yung lente niya is fixed. There are no shutters. Okay, there are no moving parts. Meron ka pang nilalagay ng mga pampaliit ng butas, yung aperture. Okay, what you call, and these are all manual. You have to place them. Yung mga different sizes of apertures, you have to manually place them. Hindi siya yung na-adjust mo na umiikot. No. You have to put them. So this is how the old camera worked. And paano yung shutter? Okay, yung isa pa yun, question yung shutter. How do they close the shutter? And during the old times, during the mga old cameras, there were no shutter. So what do? They use lens cover.
Right.
May mga nilalagay sila, mga cardboard o yung mga takip ng lente. Yun ang ginagawa nilang shutter. Tinatiman lang nila, bubuksan nila yan, then orasan nila. But you have to remember kasi film during those days were very slow. Okay?
Right.
And you're talking about mga tawag nila, mga ASA. Okay, mga ASA 10, ASA 20. Okay, this is similar to what yung ISO, okay, what we have now.
Right.
Now we have mga ISO 1,000 up to 1,600, 16,000. During that time, imagine, asa 10, asa 20, it takes you mga 30 seconds, 1 minute, to be able to expose a negative. And so what you need is actually a timer. Okay? Orasan mo. Pagbukas mo na gano'n, orasan mo siya ng mga ilang segundo or bisan minuto. You expose it for several minutes. Tapos tsaka mo tatakpan ulit. Kaya that's how the old camera worked. Okay?
The mechanism itself. Oo.
Oo. And paano mo kukuha ng pic? Paano mo may post yung tao, di ba? Ng isang minuto.
Right.
Na hindi gumagalaw. Kaya yung mga old studios, okay,
like
where they have, na ginagamitan nila, yung mga chairs nila, head holders, may nakatutok dito sa likod. And kaya yung mga tao nun, hindi ngumingiti. Di ba? Napansin mo yung mga old pictures natin, wala nakatawa, wala nakangiti. Mahirap ngumiti parang ng isang minuto, di ba? Nakatawa ka for 1 minute.
Oo. Mahirap nga nun. Kaya medyo creepy yung mga lumang litrato kasi sila nakagano'n. Diba? So, ayun. Thank you, Sir Manny. So, punta naman tayo kay Sir Clinton. Sir Clinton, ano yung nag-attract sa'yo with vintage cameras? Is it also the mechanism? I think naka-mute po kayo. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Kasi I am an antique collector, so I think my eyes are pre-programmed toward these vintage cameras, vintage materials. And gusto ko rin kasi gumawa ng sarili kong camera, kaya ako na-attract at soon sana makagawa ako ng sarili kong camera. Kaya ni-study ko rin yung mechanism, pero mas simple nga yung mga mas old. Kaya yun ang gusto kong gawin. Yung sinabi ni Sir Manny na yung shutter niya is at least, di ba? Parang kayang gawin eh.
Right. Oo.
Yung
Dami pa nga
lens
yung
nila.
iba. Yung iba gamit lang nila is magnifying glass, di ba?
Magnifying glass.
Also, I know si Sir Clinton napaka-creative.
May pinhole pa nga.
Excited na ako makita yung plano niya na camera. Yun. So,
hindi siya Canon, hindi siya Nikon, right. Clinton.
Clinton. Oo nga, no? Pwede. Pwede. Thank you, Sir Clinton. So, siguro punta naman tayo sa I believe ito na yung nakaka-excite na part yung tipong mga cameras nyo. So, I believe si Sir Manny sent us different cameras. Sir Manny, baka we can briefly pass through the photos that you sent.
Yes.
I'll show the photos, then briefly na baka we can explain. Kasi medyo nakakatuwa kasi ang dami, tsaka matutuwa kayo on how Sir Manny can also explain how it works. Yan, briefly lang. Hold on, let me show it on screen. Pin ko lang po si Sir Manny. Yan. Okay. Sir Manny, hold on.
Yeah.
There you go. Ayan, Sir Manny, go ahead. Is this the first? Tama po ba?
Tama.
The shoe tailboard camera?
I don't see it.
Can you see it?
No.
Nasa screen ko po siya. Hold on. Let me... kailangan ko yata siya i-spotlight. Hold on. Ken, can you spotlight me? Or sino bang pwede? Paano naman? Para makita ni Sir Manny. Can you see? Can you spotlight me? Hold on. We're just fixing. Ito. I see it. Show. Hold on. Gallery view. Yan. Tapos spotlight. Ayan, Sir Manny, can you see it now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This is a shoe tailboard camera. I think this is a 1902. Alam mo, this camera came from a collector from the US. His name was Jack Naylor. at one time, si Jack Naylor owned one of the most comprehensive camera collections in the world.
Wow.
He owned like 20,000, mga photographic equipment. Sari-sari from mga ganyan old cameras. And before he died in 2007, pina-auction niya yung mga cameras niya in New York, Gurney's auction house. And he pina-auction din na to. And sumama ako sa auction and I was able to get this camera. It's a shoe tailboard.
1900.
British. Mga early 1900s yan. It's a British camera.
And your next, ito po, hold on, there. Sanderson yata po to.
Sana, hindi ko, okay, yan. Yung Sanderson camera. That's again, it's an early 1900 photograph camera that was also made in England. Alam mo, that camera was used recently in a ano bang film yan? It's a movie film. Kalimutan ko na yung pangalan ng movie. Larawan. Yung Larawan. Ginawa nila yung ginawa nilang props yan.
Wow.
Kasi yung Larawan na pelikula was shot in Taal. Okay? And the director saw the camera museum and he asked me if he could borrow some of the cameras. And ginamit nila yan. Marami silang hinihiram sa akin doon, yung mga ibang directors. Pag mga old, yung mga old films, yung mga ano pa itong mga Goyo, yung kay Goyo, di ba? Yung mga kay, sino pa yung isa? Si Luna, si Antonio Luna. Ayun, puro mga ginagamit nila, yung mga
luma.
Yung mga lumang cameras parang props, props. But these are nice cameras. These are mga gandang klaseng camera.
And it's really well preserved. Kita mo.
Oh yes. These are all working cameras.
And yung next camera, Sir Manny, I believe ito yung isa sa mga pinaka-precious mo na camera. Yan. Am I right? Yung Royal.
Asan ito?
Ito, can you see it? Yung Royal camera.
The Royal, my first camera.
Yes.
I don't see it, but I got.
Yeah.
That's my first camera. When I was 12. Well, that camera, that's not the original camera that I had. Okay, because the original camera was lost, and so I had to look for that camera. I had to search for that camera because, and it's a very rare camera. It's made in Japan.
Right.
It's a Leica copy, and that brought me, memories. Kasi kaya I had to bid for that camera. It's such a rare camera. You don't see those cameras anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Hold on. Meron pa tayong iba. Let me just. Yan. Sige po. Ang next. Rolleiflex.
Mga Rolleiflex. Of course. Rolleiflex is still highly collectible cameras. This is I think mga 1970s yan 60s, 70s na camera. This is the Rolleiflex T, Model T.
I have the same one.
Yeah.
Oo. Ayan. Next. Another Rolleiflex.
This one is a 1929 Rolleiflex.
Wow.
That's the first Rolleiflex.
Grabe.
1929. That's Rolleiflex 1. And that started off the twin lens reflex. A lot of camera makers wanted to copy that system na developed ng Rolleiflex. And of course, yung mga Mamiya, Yashica, other German cameras. A lot of them copy the Rolleiflex. And that the Rolleiflex set the standards kasi in the twin lens reflex system.
Your next, Nikonos. Wow.
Nikonos. Okay, this is the Nikonos. Nikonos 1. Okay, alam mo yung original Nikonos, okay, actually was developed by Jacques Cousteau. the French diver scientist. In fact, this is the Mykonos one, which later on, when they bought, Nikon kasi bought the system of Jacques Cousteau, yung Calypso, the Calypso camera. I believe it's in one of the photographs there. No? That was the original photograph, original camera of underwater cameras.
Wow.
The Calypso. So that was the first model that they came out after the Calypso.
Grabe, no?
Ayan.
Yeah,
So this is the Calypso. This is the camera that Jacques Cousteau made. Okay, there were very few of them. This camera, I saw this in a flea market in Paris. Very rare. Okay, when I saw this, I had to buy this camera because such a rare camera. It's probably one of the cameras that Jacques Cousteau made.
Wow.
And the Calypso, of course, the name Calypso came from the name of his ship. Yung kanyang research ship was named the Calypso. And so he made this underwater cameras, one of the first underwater cameras. And Nikon bought that system, bought the camera. And from there, Nikon made the Nikonos 1, Nikonos 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so on.
Grabe, no? Next.
Ito naman. This is the Nikon SP and the Leica M3. Now, during the 50s, Leica came up with the most, probably one of the best cameras that they made, which was the M3, one on the right side. Okay, and it set the standard among the rangefinder cameras.
Yeah.
And in 1958, Nikon came up with the SP that rivaled the M3. Okay, these are probably the two best cameras that were made during the 1950s.
Yeah.
And up to now, these are iconic cameras. Sa mga collectors, if you have these cameras, wow, this is mga iconic cameras ito of the 50s. And these are superb cameras.
Yeah.
This is the Nikon M. I think, this is the Nikon M. M stands for modified. Alam mo, before before the war, Nikon was not making any cameras. They were making lenses.
They
for
were
Canon. They were making lenses for Canon and for other camera makers. And they were making mostly mga lenses for the Japanese Imperial Army, yung mga telescopes, yung mga rangefinders for the ships and everything. But after the war, they couldn't make them anymore because it was not allowed to make anything there were no more Japanese army. And so they started making cameras. And they came up with the Nikon 1. Okay, problem with the Nikon 1 was that the film was not conforming to the Leica system. It was not a 24 by 36 millimeter, the size of the negative. It was a 24 by 32. So alanganin. And the Americans did not like that kind of system, yung size niya. And the Nikon 1 was rejected by the Americans. And so Nikon modified it and they called this, ginawa nilang Nikon M. Yung Nikon 1 was modified to call the Nikon M. This camera, when somebody showed me this camera, the original buyer, he wanted to sell it he was in a tennis court selling this camera because he just wanted to buy a digital camera because it was not being used. And somehow nakita ko siya and I became interested in it. And sabi ko I told them the story about the Nikon. This is a very expensive and rare camera, sabi ko sa kanya. And I told them how much it was worth. This was probably worth at that time siguro mga $5,000 because of its rarity. At Nikon M. And when I wasn't able to buy it at that time because it was I didn't have the money. After 2 years, the owner came back to me, called me up, and asked me if I still am interested in the Nikon M. Yes, sabi ko, I am interested, but at my price. So I gave him a good price para makabili na siya ng digital camera. But it's probably the oldest Nikon camera in the Philippines. It's a very, very rare camera, and it's in Galleria Taal. You can see that there.
Would you imagine?
And it's a working camera.
Amazing. And the next, yan.
This one was also given to me by, alam mo sa mga Nikon collectors, this is yung Nikon F. Okay, this is the first SLR na ginawa ng Nikon. The Nikon F. It was made, it was 1959, yes. But with the motor drive and everything and the black, if you see a Nikon camera with the black color, tapos may motor drive, this is something else. This is rare, very rare. At yung mga Nikon collectors would, drool over that camera.
Right. Of course.
It was just given to me. Given to me by a friend of mine.
Amazing. And the next, gold. Ito yung nakita ko sa
ito, probably one of the most expensive and most after-sought camera. Alam mo, when Nikon closed in the Nikon Philip, yung Columbia.
Right.
Sila yung distributor, di ba? Columbia Global Sales.
Yes.
When they closed, one of the owners called me up and said, Manny, I have here a Nikon Gold, unused, okay? Because we have to unload our inventory, okay? They sold yung Columbia. And so I saw the camera, and I wanted to see if it was the real gold camera, Nikon Gold, and it was really the Nikon FA Gold. There are only 2,000 pieces of this that were made. And, for collectors. This was unused, never been used. In fact, I've never put a film in this camera. Such a beautiful camera.
Right.
My God.
Something to drool over.
Yes, so really, pag nahawakan mo siya talaga, wow, something else. 14 karat gold. Yeah. This one is the Nikon. Okay, I have several of these kinds of cameras, which is what you call the 250 shots. Okay, di ba cameras, the film cameras have 36 shots.
Parang
These
machine
are
gun.
250 shots. Okay, you use the bulk film. This is the F3 250 with the motor drive, and I have also the F2 250. I have the F 250, and I have the F4 250.
Wow.
Yeah, in Galleria Taal. This is just one of those. These were the cameras that were used by scientists. And also it was used by NASA.
Right.
To take photographs, because you cannot bring a camera in space with 36 shots only. So they have to use maraming film.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Next. Ito na.
Ito naman. This is, well, there's a nice story behind this kasi, when I don't know if I have the time to tell the story of all of these things, but you're looking at the Leica O. The O stands for Oscar Barnack, who is the maker of the Leica. Okay, the Leica O, but these are, of course, the Leica O is on the left side. Okay, on the right is the Leica UR. Okay, now these two are replicas made by Leica. Okay, for collectors. During the they call this the Null series. Actually, they made this actually in commemoration of Oscar Barnack, when I think it was his 150th birthday or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But this was actually made during the 2000. But these are actual replicas, working replicas of the cameras. The Leica O, okay, is the most expensive camera in the world. Okay. The Leica O was actually made in 1923. They only made 20 prototypes of those.
Wow.
Of those 20, only 10 are still existing.
Grabe.
In 2013,
Mm.
one of the cameras was auctioned in Austria, and that camera, the Leica O, sold for 2.13 million euro.
Wow. Grabe. Imagine
Yeah.
that.
So that Leica O actually, well, is something else. The UR Leica is the first Leica na ginawa ni Oscar Barnack, the first 35 millimeter. But there are only 3 of those that are still existing, and those are in the museum, in the Leica Museum. This one, of course, are all replicas which they made. But you know, when the Leica store opened in Makati, they borrowed these cameras and they to display, and the German visitors, of the German guests of Leica was wondering where the store got this camera.
Kay Sir Manny, alam niya. Ayan.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Ayan, M5.
Oh, the Leica. Well, ito naman maganda to. Ang ganda rin na story ito, Leica. Leica M5. Of course, these are rare cameras. Mga magagandang cameras ito ng Leica. But the owner of this camera is actually a Filipina, was married to a German guy. And I don't know, the Filipina actually sold it to me. He sold me actually several cameras. Ay, hindi ko lang alam kung galit siya sa asawa niya. But this is a nice camera, the Leica M5.
Ganda.
Yeah.
Next.
This is, okay. This is the Leica 1C. One of the cameras that came from Jack Naylor. The collector from the US, who owned probably one of the most comprehensive camera collections in the world when he was alive. So the collections are no longer, because it's all over the world, and this is one of them, one of the collections. It's a 1931 Leica. Wow. This tall thing that you see is a rangefinder. Okay, that's diyan mo sinisilip yung where you measure the distance. Yeah, very nice camera. Oh, this is a 1A, the model 1926. I bought this actually in the flea market in Paris in I think 2014. This was the first camera that was mass produced by Leica, the 1A.
Grabe, no?
1926.
Yan, medyo palaki na. Go ahead.
Ito man, ito yung mga
Lancaster.
This is the Lancaster. Ito ba nga ba yung Lancaster? Yeah, this is the Lancaster. This is a European. This is an English camera actually. It's a glass plate camera, half plate. It's a half plate actually, and it's an 1895 or 94, 1894 camera.
Grabe, no?
Working camera, very nice camera.
The next,
yeah.
Corona.
Ito naman, Corona. It is a 1920 camera. The Corona, this camera particularly, actually came from a friend of mine who wanted to throw it away in the garbage.
Naku, sayang.
Because it was broken. It was in several pieces. Yung mga bellows, sirana, tapos yung mga kahoy, it was broken into several pieces. And sabi ko, okay, just give it to me and I will take care of it, maybe restore it. So I restored the camera. I bought some new bellows from England and pati yung mga strap. I bought the strap. I had the steel plates, yung mga metal parts. Anong tawag ito? Yung I had it chrome plated again.
Wow.
Okay, and varnished the wood. And when the owner saw the camera, actually, in Galleria Taal, I told him that this is your camera. He wanted to get it back.
Oo, yung sasabihin ko eh. Gusto na niya bawiin.
He wanted to get the camera back. Sabi ko, sorry.
Oo nga. Okay. Ito.
Yeah.
Brownie.
This is the Brownie. It's a it's a special brown. It was actually given to me by a good friend of mine, a classmate, and it was something. Well, this is I think a 19. I think mga 1935, something like that, na camera, mga brownie cameras. Yeah. Very simple camera, yeah. But it was, for me, it was very special because it came from a friend. It was given to me by a friend of mine. Yeah.
And the next, 2D.
Okay, this is the Kodak 2D. Okay, it's a early 1900 also. You know, I saw this camera in Tiendesitas in Pasig. Okay, but not like this. Hindi ganitong hitsura niya because when I saw it, it was really very bad. Sira-sira na yung mga kahoy. It was, I had to revarnish the wood, take it out, take all the pieces out. Pati yung mga metals, I had to replate them. And now it's a working camera. Maganda siya. Pati yung lenses was cleaned. I had to have them cleaned. Yeah, it's working camera.
Yun ang maganda yung pag-restore, no, Sir Manny?
Yeah. I like restoring these cameras.
Nakakatawa. Yeah. And contacts.
The contacts. The contacts this is a 1935 camera, and German made. Okay, this was what Nikon copied. Itong pinagkopyahan ng Nikon. Yung mga Nikon rangefinders. It was based on the Contax rangefinder. In fact, the lenses of the Contax can be, you can put it in the Nikon rangefinders. It's compatible. Yes, it's compatible. Yeah.
And the next, yung last natin, the
ito naman, okay, this is probably the biggest and one of my favorite camera. This is a Century studio camera, 1907. This came from the States. The reason why I bought this camera, because when I was one time I was in Intramuros, and they showed me this camera that was sira-sira na. Sira-sira na yung cameras, and they wanted somebody to restore it. Sabi ko, and they were asking me how much it would cost them to restore. It was a very beautiful, it was a Century studio camera. And unfortunately, hindi ko makuha yung camera. I couldn't get it, I couldn't restore it because there were so many red tapes in Intramuros. And nanginayang ako dun sa camera, and I saw it was a very iconic camera. And so I instead, I got one for myself. I bought this through eBay actually way back. I think this was about 2010. And this is a camera that has nothing inside. Okay, there's no aperture settings. There are no shutter speed. What I mentioned to you. You have to use a lens cover to act as a shutter, and you have to put the aperture a stop in the lens manually to reduce the sizes of the aperture.
Right.
No, it's a very beautiful camera, studio camera, 8x10.
Amazing. Imagine, kaya siya studio, no? Kasi you can't bring it outside.
You cannot bring it out.
Medyo mahirap yan. Oo. Ayun. Thank you, Sir Manny, for sharing the cameras. And again, if
you can see
miss
them
it.
in Galleria Taal, yeah.
Ayun. And later, we'll show yung, Sir Manny, what you do there and yung mga pictures ng Galleria Taal. Okay. Ayun. And ito naman, punta na tayo kay Sir Clinton naman. Meron siyang i-share sa atin. Those pictures that he sent us. Yan, pakita lang natin.
Pero alam mo,
Yes,
Sir Franz,
go ahead po.
na parang tuta lang yung museum ko titiklop pag nakita yung malaking museum ni Sir Manny. Kaya sasagutin ko yung question mo pala kanina na hindi ko nasagot, yung
go ahead.
what can people do to help sustain this pandemic. nananawagan rin ako na nananawagan rin pala ako na uma-accept yung museum ko ng donations kahit nasira.
Oo naman, oo.
Pero sa totoo lang, basta visit pag napadaan kayo papuntang Baguio, makakilala lang ako ng mahilig sa photography kahit na anong medium yan, or film, or sa digital or sa cellphone, masaya na ako eh. May libreng kape dito. Pintuan tayo.
Oo, ayun. And Sir Clinton, ito, pakita na natin. Maybe you can talk about your gallery. Ayan, kwento na natin yung gallery mo, ano yung pwedeng gawin ng mga tao. I believe you also have sculptures, di ba? Yung mga inuukit mo, tama, no? Ayan, baka you can share with them. Sige, ipakita ko na. Yan. Ganda, oh.
Yan, ginawa ko na yung mga dyan, yung shelf niya.
Ikaw lang nag-ukit niyan, Sir Clinton?
Oo, sa lumang poste ng bahay.
Wow. And when they go there, ayan, baka pwede mong i-tour kami. Ayan, ano yung mga makikita natin dyan? Go ahead.
Sa labas rin yan is umukit rin ako ng kumukuha ng picture na cement. Hindi ko lang na-share sa iyo.
When they visit there, ano po yung mga nandun sa loob ng shelves? Mga...
Wag mo nang tanungin kasi nakakaya kay Sir Manny. Pero yung favorite ko is...
ano yung favorite nyo?
Yung memorable, 3 memorable cameras ko talaga dyan is yung Leica M3, yung isa. Kasi yung customer ko na nagustuhan yung artwork ko, na dahil nagustuhan niya, nagpapili siya kung anong gusto ko. Yung Hasselblad niya ba or yung M3. Sabi ko, yung M3. Kaya,
medyo mahirap na choice yun.
Mahirap talaga. Kasi or.
Oo.
At yung isa pa naman, yung memorable sa akin is yung Canon F1. Nung pumunta ako sa Korea, na-invite ako na mag-art residency for 2 months. Maganda dun kasi ikaw pipili kung anong gusto mong i-exhibit. Nagustuhan ko mag-exhibit ng 3, yung sculpture, painting, and photography.
Wow.
Wala akong dalang camera, dala ko lang film. Kaya humiram ako sa photographer doon. Mayroon naman siyang pinahiram, yung F1. Ang ganda pala ng F1 kasi kaya doon ko na-try. Kaya nung umuwi ako, naghanap na ako kasi ayaw niya ibenta sa akin eh. Memorable rin daw sa kanya daw 'yon. May nakilala ako dito sa Baguio na photographer na matanda. May F1 siyang 2. Yun, binenta niya sa akin yung isa. Memorable rin sa akin yun. Dahil may rami rin palang film photographer dito sa Baguio na offline sila.
Right. Wala sa Facebook.
Nakikilala mo lang sila sa... wala silang Facebook, wala sila. Nakikilala mo lang pag nagpapadevelop ka na lang sa studio.
Right.
Kunikwento rin nila yung mga experience nila. Ay, grabe. Kaya, ma-inspire ka rin sa mga kwento nila. Kaya memorable rin sa akin yan.
Ito, Sir Clinton, ito yung sinasabi mo. Ito yung sinasabi mo na sculpture na may camera. Tama, no? Ito ba yun?
Ay, oo. Ginagamit ko rin yan. Nilagay ko lang dyan. Parang stand niya. Pero ginagamit ko rin.
Ganda. Ito naman, I believe
pero iba yung...
iba pa
may
yun.
Malaki pa.
Ito naman, Sir Clinton, ano tong camera na to?
Yung dark room ko yan.
Wow!
Ginawa camera mo, na dark room.
Ang galing. Ginawang camera mo yung dark room.
Sinot ko rin yan sa film.
Wow! Ito, yung next natin. Ito yung mga art.
Yan kasi, itong museum ko kasi is cultural museum rin siya. Kaya marami. Hindi ko pa na-document yung iba.
Napaka...
Pero gusto ko ang...
Ang ganda ng culture dyan. Kasi yung tipong, di ba, I mean, na-preserve kasi kahit papaano, di ba? I mean, in your place, di ba?
Especially sa photography. Na-preserve siya na para maging culturally correct yung ini-explain nila sa mga libro, may evidence.
Right.
Nasa photograph.
Ito. Mga shoot mo ng
wala, shoot lang yan. Sa M3. Expired films. Yan yung lahat ng sinushoot ko, expired films.
it gives ano no? May certain ano siya may certain look yung expired na maganda no? It adds ano. Ayan. Oh, ganda oh.
Expired.
Ito yung mga ano mo.
Sa cultural ka.
Right. Ang ganda oh. You get to see the detail talaga.
Yan.
Ay, ano to, Sir Manny?
Yan yung isa
Sir Clinton.
Isa sa photograph na mga igorot sa 1904 St. Louis, Missouri yung
photographer.
Fair nila doon, yung circus fair nila. Pero yung photographer diyan yung na-search ko yung kumuha ng shot na yan. Yun sa kabila.
Talaga. Wow. Do you have the photo there? Sa museum?
May na-download lang ako na hindi na nakikita ngayon. Yung high-res niya. Pero hindi ko nilalagay. Baka
you imagine, naging part yung isang igrot ng isang ano.
Sila yung mga first igorot sa akin.
Ganda nito.
Yan, nagpupunta ako sa Ifugao. Drone, cellphone, film, and DSLR.
Ganda.
Kaya mas maganda kung nakakonsentrate ka talaga sa isa.
Di ba? Ang ganda, oh.
Buti nakashoot pa rin ako ng aerial niya.
Ganda. Ito mga film photos.
Mga expired rin niya.
Ikaw ba to?
Oo. Yun ang kwan sa atin yung mga behind the lens. Hindi tayo masyado napipicturan.
Oo. Lalo na mga
kaya swerte ng mga napipicturan natin
Oo.
Makikita na lang nila nasa museum mo.
Oo. Ito mga film photos. Gaganda.
Mga expired lang.
You get the...
ito. Yan. Yung
in-sculpt mo rin.
Sa labas ng kwan museum.
Ganda. Ito mga igorot.
Yan lang. Sample ko lang. Culturals.
Ito yung mga makikita nila dyan na mga handicrafts.
Na gusto ko ipagamit sa mga model, then i-shoot ko ng film.
Ganda. Are these new or...
Hindi. Pre-owned yan. Antiques talaga.
Ganda
Iba-iba ang gamit niya.
Ito yung mga ginagawa mong Oo.
Sira na kasi yung camera na yan. Hindi ko na... Sayang lang oras pag-ayusin. Ilagay ko na ng ulo.
Ganda. Really, creative. Ifugao. Wow. Ayan, ito yung camera museum. Ganda.
Tapos yung libro na yan, yung mga sample shots. Yun ang gusto kong gawin dyan. Every camera may sample shot sa likod niya. Kaya gusto ko lahat buhayin.
Sir Clinton, para doon sa mga para for those who want to go there, paano sila pupunta doon? Tsaka ano yung mga activities na pwede nilang gawin doon?
Nasa Waze na rin pala ako at sa Google Map para hindi kayo mawala. Na Clinton Museum. Type nyo
so,
lang.
isa-search lang nila, then makapunta sa... And then, tama, di ba? From, kunyari, galing ka ng NLEX or dire-diretso ka, di ba? Where do you go? Kaya NLEX, tapos, yung... Tiplex, then exit ka ng
paglabas mo sa Rosario, diretso lang, Pugo. Then after Pugo, yun na, yung sa amin na. May makikita kayong malaking rotary monument na gulong.
Oo, alala ko yun, oo. Malapit lang doon.
Sa pangalawang liko, yun na sa amin. Left side.
Malapit lang pala, oo. Lalo na ngayon.
Kaya wala. Di pa stricto ngayon sa amin. Kaya pwede kayo makapasok.
Oo. So, yan. Siguro, naman, thank you, Sir Clinton. Siguro, balik naman tayo kay Sir Manny in terms of naman, Sir Manny, cameras na gusto mo pang i-collect pero hindi pa siya nako-collect. I believe may isa kang camera na kiniwento sa akin did you send it to me? Or...
Ay, hindi ko nabigay sa'yo.
search ko na lang. Sige, Sir Manny, baka you can talk about it. Then balik tayo kay Sir Clinton. Go ahead.
Well, probably one of the things that I really wanted to have here is the Xerox. This is the holy grail of cameras. Ito yung Giro Daguerreo type camera. This is an 1839 camera. Okay, probably it was the first camera that was mass produced. Okay, using the Daguerreo type system. Now, the camera is very rare. And at one point in time, it was the most expensive camera in the world. In one of, I think, I don't know what year it was auctioned, one of the cameras, the Xerox daguerreotype, was sold for 700,000 euro.
Wow.
Okay, in an auction. Okay, so I've been searching for that camera. I just wanted to see it, this camera that's so expensive at that time. And so I went all over the world. I went to the Kodak Museum, the George Eastman house in Rochester, USA. Yeah, that's it. Okay, and because they have that there, the George Eastman house. But unfortunately, when I went there, it was on a Saturday afternoon, and it was in a basement. In the basement, it was hidden in a basement. Okay, and I couldn't see it, and it was not allowed for me to go into the basement. I had to have a special permit to see it. So madaling sabi, I was not able to see it there. And so but I went to different places. One time I was in Barcelona with my friends, with some friends, and we were going around, and I saw this little store showing a daguerreotype. Okay, may mga daguerreo. So I was wondering, ano kaya nasa loob doon? But since I was with a group of friends, I was not able to get out of my group, and so the following day I came back, and I went into this store, and there was an exhibition of a daguerreotype photograph, and there was one camera that was displayed. It was this camera, the Xerox daguerreotype. My eyes widened when I saw this camera. I was looking at the holy grail of cameras. This camera that Louis Daguerre used in 1839, and as you know, it was Louis Daguerre who one of the inventors of photography, together with Nicephore Nips.
Right.
And this started the photography business. Actually, in Europe, this was made in France, and in the States, this became very popular. They had several models of this that came out. But when I was in Paris one time, this is just made of wood, okay, and the lens is actually very expensive, okay. But when I was in Paris, in a flea market in Paris, I saw one of the lenses there. Ito tong lens lang, wala yung kaha, and it was in a special box. It was being sold for, I think, about 10,000 euro.
Grabe.
And of course, I could not buy it. I couldn't afford it. But anyway, I was just able to, the most take pictures. And then, a few years back, well, maybe about 10 years ago, there was an exhibition in Singapore. There was a daguerreotype camera, the Xerox daguerreotype, without the lens.
Wala naman yung lens.
Wala yung lens.
Puzzle na.
Sabi ko, nalagay ko yung lentik nakita ko dun sa
Yun yung parte.
Ito yung kasama, ito yung para dito sa kamerang ito.
Napunta pala dun, no?
Oo, sabi ko, sayang, binili ko na sana yung lente, di ba? Tapos,
right. Tapos, ito yung lente.
Yung lente, 10,000, magkano? 10,000 euro. Tapos
grabe.
siguro, yung kahoy, baka mura lang yung kahoy. Pwede ko lang doon yung kahoy. Di ba? And siguro, I could sell that for what? Thousands of Thousands of dollars.
Oo nga. Nabuo nyo.
Dito siguro.
Yung hindi ka pinapasok, Sir Manny, dun sa hindi mo nakita in person. Ito, meron ako. Di ba?
Ilang gabi ka hindi nakatulog, Sir Manny.
Oo nga.
Di ba? Frustration, di ba? Bino mo nagpunta ka sa Amerika para tingnan mo lang yung
nakita mo.
Actually, I was in Canada. I was in Toronto. Sabi ko, I wanted cross because Rochester is just beside ko yung Niagara Falls Andun lang siya, malapit lang. About siguro 1 hour away from the Niagara Falls. So tumawid pa ako ng US doon through the Niagara Falls. Just to see that camera. Hindi ko naman nakakita.
Sayang. Nakaka-frustrate naman. Anyway, ikaw naman, Sir Clayton, ano yung camera na hindi mo pa nako-collect na gustong-gusto mo?
Ay, nanonood pala si
Ayun, sige, go ahead.
Brad Jomel Nostro.
Ayun, hello.
Hello. Naka-4 yata ako sa kanya, 3 camera.
Wow.
Bait-bait niya. Kaya, yung gusto kong makolekt, siguro impossible pero sana posible. Kahit na isa sa camera na ginamit ni Edward, yun ni Mas Ferre.
Oo nga, no?
Yung isa nasa Bontoc Museum Yung iba nasa relatives, nasa mga anak ko nila ngayon.
Anong camera kaya yun, Sir Clinton?
Rolleiflex yata. Yung nasa Bontoc.
Imagine that, no?
Yung iba, wala akong ma-search pero lahat kasi ng gamit niya, sinusulatan niya ng pangalan niya. Lahat, pati mga jars niya, mga pasiking niya, may pangalan siya. Kaya sigurado may pangalan rin yung camera na yun. Baka nasa inyo, Sir Manny, tignan mo na.
Oo nga, baka Sir Manny.
Super million.
Hanapin natin.
Sayang yun, Ayan, so siguro, before we, ito medyo patapos na tayo, siguro pa ba kayo can share top 3 tips for those na gusto nila magsimula or they want to try, pero start collecting, pero they don't know how to begin. Ikaw muna, Sir Clinton. Go ahead.
Yung mga gusto mag-try, mga 3 tips. Don't start. It's addictive. And if you started na, don't tell your wife.
Isa pa yan.
All your parents. But tell your neighbors and relatives. They might have one and give it to you for free.
Ayun, gandang.
Number 3, collect usable cameras. It is worth it if you can use it and make it alive again.
Ayun. Thank you, Sir Clayton. Ikaw naman, Sir Manny. Top 3 tips.
Well, tama yun, pare. Huwag mong sasabihin sa asawa mo yung mga pinipili mo.
Patay.
Alam mo, I have to tell you a story. When I first exhibited my cameras in Glorieta, of course, nandun yung wife ko. Tinanong ng wife ko, anong cameras, nasan dyan ang cameras mo? Kasi kailangan niya maraming yung
photographers.
Maraming yung naglagay ng mga collectors yun. Sabi ko sa akin lahat yan.
Yun lang.
There were about 130 cameras there. Sabi ko, saan mo pinaglalagay yan? Sabi niya, doon na nakatago doon sa bodega. May bodega ako sa bahay sa mga plastic containers. Nakalagay lang yun doon. Hindi niya alam. Hindi, alam mo, it's a very addicting. But today kasi yung mga cameras are very expensive. The film cameras are... Before, when I started the camera collection, at that time, it was not really that expensive. And siguro I would buy in a year's time, siguro at the most, mga 2, 3, 4. Ganun lang No? But then, because, through the years, dumami. Some, of course, were donated to me. Marami cameras were just given to me by friends who did not have any use for their cameras. But, of course, well, I don't sell the cameras. Totoo lang. I've never sold a cameras to sa mga binebenta ko camera, hindi. Because I treasure these cameras, and siguro that's probably the museum that I have is probably just my legacy to the youth of today, Para may makita nila yung ano ba itsura ng mga old cameras, ano ba yung, di ba, like, paano ba gumagana yung mga cameras, ano bang itsura niyan? Para makarelate naman sila dito sa mga photography, sa mga cameras ngayon, kung saan ang galing yung kung anong pinanggalingan ng mga cameras natin ngayon. And it's, I've traveled all over the world, to look for just to be able to look for these cameras, search for these cameras, and it's the cameras that you see in Galleria Taal are rare cameras. They're rare. They're highly collectibles, working cameras. So it's something that I'm proud of, that I have collected, and it's something that I can leave for the youth of today.
And also, Sir Manny, I mean, ito nga, di ba, yung being able to share this to others, di ba? Ito yung pinaka kumbaga, the cameras are kumbaga, lalo na sa dami, being able, or as someone who's sharing that to people, di ba? Parang it's also an honor for the people to see them in person, di ba? Kasi nga ito, like yung the rare ones, right? Yun. And Sir Manny, ito ipasok na natin, since you're talking about Galleria Taal, maybe you can tell the viewers how to go there, how to get there, since you're also now open, like Sir Clinton. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Galleria Taal is in Taal, Batangas, Taal Town, okay? A lot of people kasi don't know where Taal is. It's on the other side of the lake, okay? It's a heritage town. That's Galleria Taal. It's an 1800 house, okay? Yung mga bahay na bato. And you can go there, you can check this through ways. Just type Galleria Taal or Taal Town. Once you get to Taal, actually, you can just ask yung mga tricycle drivers or yung mga kusino man, yung mga locals doon. They would know Galleria Taal. We have a parking space right in front of Galleria Taal. You can park there. And also we have a small cafe where you can dine. It's an air-conditioned. There's also an open space also in the center of the house, where you can dine in an open air or air-conditioned room. It's a nice place, to talk about photography and history. Yeah, come to Galleria Taal. Visit our heritage town.
And also, I believe you also have activities, di ba? Yung itutour sila ng mga nung mga
ito, we have tourist
si Sir Manny.
Well, this is me explaining. This is the APEC crowd. Okay, nagpunta yung mga APEC delegates to Taal just to see my museum, and I was privileged to be one of those that were visited by the APEC delegates. Yeah. And this is what I do. I become a tourist guide on the weekends. Yeah. And these are mga students naman ito, mga when I explain to them how the camera works, paano gumagana yung mga old camera. So marami pumupunta doon before the lockdown, mga estudyante, mga kusinos, mga from different schools. Sometimes by the bus load sila nga kung pumunta dyan. And a lot of them are, very curious, very interested people, especially mga young kids.
Right.
They wanted to see, they're very happy to see the old cameras and how they work.
Ayun. So, thank you, Sir Manny. For those, Sir Clinton and Sir Manny, for those who'd like to contact you, baka you can share your number or your Facebook page. Where can they find you? Para if they want to ask questions.
We have a Facebook. Galleria Taal Facebook. You can get in touch with us there. We have numbers there. And if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer your questions in doon sa Galleria Taal Facebook.
Sir Clinton, ikaw naman po.
Just don't forget to like my page also,
Ayan.
Clinton Museum.
Ayan. So, just message them. I'm very sure na they'll be excited to tour you around their museums.
Yes.
And ito lang, before we have some few actually konti lang po yung questions. I'll just read them and feel free to answer the questions. Okay. Ang unang question natin ay from Miss Liza Rodriguez. Can you share some interesting stories on how you acquired some of your tapos na yan, nakwento na nila Sir Manny. Cara Cristobal, hi sir, sa collection na po, which one is your most prized collection? Sir Manny, kayo po.
My prized collection is probably my first camera. yung Royal Rangefinder. It's probably the most memorable for me. When I was able to acquire my
first camera.
My first camera, the Royal. But of course, there are a lot of cameras there. Na paborito ko din, gusto ko din. The big ones that you saw, that the Century Studio camera is also nice. And of course, yung mga Leicas.
Right.
There are several Leica cameras there. And the gold camera of Nikon. Oh, ganda talaga yun. Grabe.
Ayun.
So many stories. If you go to Galleria Taal, I have so many stories.
Sana ma-champuan kayo, Sir Manny, nila when they visit, no?
Well, I'm normally there pag Saturdays. Unless, of course, there are some activities that I have to attend to, like this one. But normally, I'm there pag Saturdays.
Ayan, may tip na kayo for those who are, kung gusto nyo ma-meet si Sir Manny.
We have curators there. We have trained curators there who can tell you the stories.
Actually, nakakatuwa yung curators nyo, Sir Manny. Nung pumunta kami, very sila, yung insightful nila. I mean, very insightful yung tour. Also, yung, naalala ko yung pinakita yung 3D thing.
Yes, in the 3D cameras.
Tuwa yung mga pamangkin ko when they saw those. Na-appreciate nila. Oo. Ayun. And Sir Clinton, kayo po, ano ba yung tanong natin? The question is, ayan, most prized possession sa inyo.
Okay. I always treat all my camera on hand as my prized camera. Kung ano yung gamit ko sa araw na yun. Parang yun yung favorite ko eh. Pero ang talagang favorite ko sa kanila actually is yung SR1, yung Minolta. Kasi madali siyang ayusin, malaglag man siya, sturdy. At yun nga, isang kahit na walang battery, kahit na mawala man siya, madali ring hanapin. Kaya may tatlo akong SR1 dito kahit na isa-isa lang dapat ang kinokollect ko.
Oo nga. So, yun pala. So, at least now we know na yun yung paborito ni Sir Clinton. Actually, yun lang po yung mga questions. The other questions have been answered. Si Miss Harvey Chua, we'll share the link po kay Tita Harvey, the wife of Sir John Chua. With that, Sir Manny and Sir Clinton. Meron pala tayong dito message from Ken. Do you want to say anything to our guests? Are you there? Andiyan ka ba? Ayan. So we have a message from Ken. Go ahead, Ken. I think you're mute. Nakamute ka, Ken. Ken, you're on mute. Go ahead.
And hello, Sir Manny, Sir Clinton. On behalf of the boarding film team and Photo Nation, the members of Photo Nation International, we would like to show our deepest appreciation to your stories yung kanina, yung mga kwento about the cameras. And we hope to visit your museum soon. We hope to experience yung mga kwento-kwento nyo and matry din yung mga cameras pag bumisita kami tayo. Yan lang. Thank you.
Mag-a-award na po si Ken ng certificate. Ay, joke lang. Para nag-award certificate. Yun. Anyway, ayun. Thank you, Sir Clinton, Ken, and Sir Manny for joining us tonight. We appreciate. It's an honor to have you both with us na ito nga alam niyo yun yung parang napagsama natin ng South and North, di ba? With us tonight. And yun nga, baka we can do baka pwedeng bumuo tayo ng collectors club, di ba? Who knows, di ba? May mga viewers natin.
Si Sir Manny ang kwan.
Oo, si Sir Manny ang founder. Di ba? Anyway, yun. With that,
exclusive tayo makahiram.
Oo. Ayan. Again, thank you. Thank you po. Salamat sa, ayan, yung F5 ni Ken, no? Yeah. Ay, sorry. Ayan, thank you for joining us tonight. It's an honor and we hope to see you soon after this pandemic. Ayan, sabi ko kay Sir Clinton, bibisitahin ko siya right after nitong and si Sir Manny. Ayan, thank you. Thank you po mga sir.
Honor.
Bye-bye.
Ayan.
Bye-bye.
Ayan. And again, don't forget to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, and this will also be on Spotify. Just search for Film Factor Podcast. Don't forget to join us next week as we return with Astro Photography with photographers Anthony Mongcal, Dai Salles, and John Kimwell Laluma. Magagaling po to ng mga landscape photographer and astrophotographers. Yan. Again, and also don't forget to join us this coming week at Ortigas Art Festival 2021 at Estancia Mall in Pasig City. It's in or at Capitol Commons in Pasig. Napakadali pong hanapin. And the whole exhibit will run from February 24 until March 31. So medyo mahaba siya. So if you have the time, please do visit us. Yun. It will be co-presented together with us, Born in Film, the Film Development Council of the Philippines, Ago Studio, and many, many more. Yun. So, and also yung Born in Film booth isa sa pinakamalaking booth dun sa festival, and we're sure na you'll all enjoy the exhibit. So yun. Again, this has been Born in Film on Air. My name is Franz. Thank you for joining us. Snap Talk will be right after us, so please do join that. Ang guest po natin tonight si Tito Bong, who'll explain more about the Ortigas Art Festival. Again, thank you. Bye. Bye. Thank you po.
Bye-bye.
Walking through the heavy light, the streets are empty and you don't feel right. You didn't want to let yourself down, so don't be scared to get out. Here's 1,000 The time